Well, a couple of days ago, we celebrated that the NFL season starts in 100 days. It's now 97 days until that Thursday night opener between the Lions and the Chiefs. The first Sunday of the season, 100 days away. We have 4 games in that early window on CBS, including the first game of the post-Tom Brady era for Tampa. There's also the start of the Derek Carr era in New Orleans, and the big one, C.J. Stroud's debut for the Texans as he faces Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. 7 games total that week on CBS. Let's discuss some of the early storylines for week 1 with our Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, great QB clash in LA week 1. Justin Herbert takes the Chargers up against Tua Tagovailoa. How are you looking forward to that one?
I mean, these two quarterbacks, Jeremy, will forever be tied to the hip throughout their professional career because they were basically right behind each other in the draft. Remember, the Miami Dolphins, they had the opportunity to go draft a guy like Justin Herbert. They decided to go ahead and select Tua Tagovailoa. So this would basically be a rematch from what we saw last December. Remember, the Dolphins traveled out to La La Land to face off against the Chargers. The Chargers at that time got the best of Tua Tagovailoa in the Miami Dolphins, beating them 23-17. Justin Herbert outplayed Tua Tagovailoa in that ball game, almost 400 yards, 367 to be exact. Tua Tagovailoa only had 145 yards, 1 touchdown. Justin also threw for a touchdown as well. So this will be a star-studded matchup because both teams, when you look at their playoff aspirations, they're legit enough to make that conversation, to be in that playoff conversation. When you talk about Tua Tagovailoa, most importantly for him, it's about staying healthy. It's about staying healthy. That has been the Achilles heel for him so far throughout his professional career, not being able to be durable enough to be in the lineup to provide the numbers that many people believe he has the skill set to be able to provide. Justin Herbert, he's been the total opposite. He's been extremely durable. He's been dominant in regards to putting points on the scoreboard, putting stats in the stat sheet. He just has to find the element of being consistent in winning ball games. He got into the playoffs last year, had a nice lead against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they found a way to squander that lead. So these two players, like I said, will forever be tied to the hip based on their draft relationship. But week 1, when you look at these two up-and-coming quarterbacks, I think both teams will put points on the scoreboard, and both quarterbacks will do numbers.
Both teams in tough divisions, too. They want to get off to a good start. That part of our late window coverage on CBS Week 1. All right, 49ers head to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. How big of a test is this for the Steelers and Kenny Pickett here, B-Mac?
It's a huge test because the San Francisco 49ers, they've been one of the more consistent teams in the National Football League, especially in the NFC. Now, we don't understand knowingly what will the quarterback situation look like for the 49ers, but one thing you cannot argue or debate against is the coaching structure. Without DeMeco Ryans, one would believe that defense still will be a nightmare, especially adding a guy like Javon Hargrave, who had double-digit sacks for the Philadelphia Eagles a year ago. They still have Fred Warner. They still have some outstanding members on the defensive side. And even though there are some big-time questions or concerns at the quarterback position, they still have Deebo Samuel. They still have Christian McCaffrey. They still have George Kittle. They still have Trent Williams. I can go on and on and on when you talk about consistent contributors for their offense. So yes, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, week 1 at home, you get a legit playoff contender. You get a team with championship aspirations. So this is a huge test for Kenny Pickett, Mike Tomlin, and this new regime of Steeler players on their team to really be able to showcase what they can do on a national stage against a national contender. But I will say this, Mr. Jeremy, right? Mike Tomlin in week 1 matchups, going back to 2016, the last 7 week 1 matchups, he's only suffered 1 loss.
Oh.
That loss happened in 2019 by the hands of Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And at that time, Tom Brady. So when you look at Mike Tomlin and the success he's had during week 1 matchups, man, and they will be getting points. I'm not saying this is a lot, but I'm saying it almost kind of feels like a lot.
So we know where your money's going in terms of that matchup, B-Mac, taking that Steelers pick week 1 as they take on the 49ers. As you mentioned, so some question marks certainly at the quarterback position. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, we don't know what it's going to be as of yet. One of those stories we'll keep an eye on. Over in Vegas, speaking of quarterbacks, 49er former quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe the man, as Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, they go up against each other, do the Vegas Raiders and the Broncos. This one really looks like a tone setter for both teams, doesn't it?
No question, especially for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, one of the more disappointing teams a year ago when you talk about adding Russell Wilson, some of the pieces they already had there in place, and not delivering the goods. One would think we will see the opposite from what we saw last year with Sean Payton as the head coach because of his experience, his ability to get the most out of his quarterback and the offensive teammates, and just being able to be consistent. So yeah, this is a big statement game for both teams because both teams are trying to have a better start to the season than what they did last year, and both teams, they play in the same division. So yes, I like the makeup from what I'm seeing with the Denver Broncos, hopefully getting the Javonte Williams back in the lineup along with some of the pass catchers. This could be a entertaining year for Denver and Russell. Now, when you transition to the guy you see right there on your screen, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think it's safe to say, Jeremy, the Raiders are a part of one of the biggest conundrums in the NFL right now. You go out and go get a guy like Jimmy G, who already had an injury, now not knowing if you will be healthy enough to pass the physical to be a part of your team for the start of the season. So they're going in the wrong direction with a spiral of concerns in regards to their quarterback. Because if you don't have Jimmy Garoppolo in the lineup, a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo in the lineup, you got to go to battle with Brian Hoyer. And he's been around for quite some time. He's had some starts throughout his professional career, but that's not the name you would like to go to battle with, especially against a divisional foe week one on the road in the Denver Broncos. So we have to wait and see exactly what happens with this soap opera type deal situation with Jimmy Garoppolo, because if he doesn't pass the physical, financially they can cut ties and not have to worry about any wasted money, but you still don't have the player that you would like to have at the most important position, which is the quarterback. So we have to wait and see exactly how this soap opera plays out for the Raiders, along with their star quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, and with the Garoppolo situation now, it's sparked all these stupid rumors about Tom Brady coming out of retirement. Owner player? Is that what this would turn out to be? No, Brady's done.
No.
All right, so as a former cornerback, obviously you look at matchups each and every week. So is there a cornerback wide receiver matchup in week one that has you salivating just a little bit?
No question. There are quite a few, but when I had to make my favorite matchup to watch, I got to go with an AFC North rival, to say the least. The Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase, Denzel Ward. These two players know each other extremely well. These two players have definitely given each other high praise based on their individual skill set. And one would think Mr. Ward will be following Mr. Chase during that matchup on the first week of the season. And when you talk about the history between these two players, they've been battle tested. They've gone toe to toe. Denzel Ward and the Cleveland Browns secondary have had a good game plan in place in trying to neutralize and slow down Jamar Chase. When you look at 3 games that Jamar Chase has faced off against the Cleveland Browns and Denzel Ward, he's averaged 6 receptions for 64 yards. In 3 games, only 1 receiving touchdown. And when you look at what happened a year ago in December, he had his best game. 10 receptions on 15 targets for 119 yards, 1 touchdown. The other 2 matchups against the Cleveland Browns, they were able to slow him down, to say the least. And Denzel Ward had a lot to do with that slowing down of Jamar Chase. Not to mention Denzel Ward actually put points on the scoreboard in one of those previous 2 matchups against Jamar Chase in the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, I love seeing respectable matchups in the National Football League when you talk about cornerbacks going against wide receivers. They've definitely shown respect for each other. They've praised each other, but in between the battle lines, all of that goes out of the window. They're just trying to one up the other, and you better believe this will be a star-studded matchup in between Jamar Chase and Denzel Ward. I can't wait to watch it.
And that is one of the games that we will have on CBS to kick off week one. Okay, so is there a slate on that, a game on that slate that you're taking an early lean on here, BMAC?
Yeah, I kind of exposed my early lean earlier in our topics. But when you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers. I think that line right now is around like 3 points or so. But I just told you, man, dating back to 2016, Mike Tomlin in week 1 matchups, he's only surrendered 1 loss. That loss came by the hands of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick on the road against the New England Patriots. I love Mike Tomlin in this spot. And then when you factor in and look at what he's been able to do in the more recent week 1 matchups on the road last year against a playoff caliber team in the Cincinnati Bengals, they outright won. Didn't need the points. Go back to the year before that. on the road against the Buffalo Bills, against a playoff caliber championship-like team, Josh Allen, guess what? They outright won that ball game as well. So those games happened on the road, and he found a way to get his troops in line to win a ball game. They're playing against another playoff caliber championship-like team in the San Francisco 49ers, but it's in the crib. It's right in the backyard. And like I said, who's going to be the quarterback for Kyle Shanahan? We don't know, but I tell you this much. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie. Dating back to 2016, the last 7 week one matchups, he's only surrendered 1 loss. And he's getting points in this matchup.
Yeah,
so
49ers Super
Bowl. He doesn't
Bowl.
have to outright win. He just got to make it close.
49ers Super Bowl favorites, but right now, Steelers plus money, +3 with the total sitting at 41. And that's your early lead from our Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, thanks for hopping on with us to discuss some of those
Yes, sir.
Week 1 storylines. 97 days away from the start of the season, 100 days from that first Sunday. For more from B-Mac and Patrick Peterson, be sure you're checking out All Things Covered. Latest episode is a Steelers mailbag and some reaction to the OTAs. You can download and follow wherever you get your podcasts or scan that QR code. You can listen right now.